Do you feel like no one really knows you? This phenomenon might be indicative of something we call masking in psychology. So masking is essentially what it sounds like. It's like having a mask. And this is a coping mechanism utilized in many mental disorders. But it doesn't necessarily mean you have a mental disorder if you engage in masking. What it means is that you've developed a coping mechanism to interact with the world that in the beginning was probably very effective for you. But now you're probably experiencing a very high rate of loneliness and potentially anxiety. And there's reasons for this. So in the beginning, masking was an effective tool to get you to essentially be accepted by the world. And maybe you had different ways of being, maybe you had trouble with interacting with others, or maybe it was just something that you noticed other people really appreciated, like you got a positive reinforcement from acting in a certain way. And so you developed this personality that isn't necessarily you, but allows you to interact with the world in the way that you think is beneficial. And you've kept up this personality for many years, and when you go out in public, when you interact with people, you put on this mask. And that's how people know you, and that's how they appreciate you, and you think that you need to keep up the mask in order to keep up the relationships, the safety, and the appreciation. But internally, you experience yourself as a very different type of person. Maybe on your exterior persona, when you're masking, you're extremely extroverted, but in actuality, you're extremely introverted. That's just one example. And so through time, you've realized that people don't really know you and they don't actually accept you because you've never given them the opportunity to accept you. Like you have no idea what people actually think of you. And by contributing to this, by keeping that kind of masking phenomenon up, you don't allow people to ever test that theory. You've never actually tested the theory of like, people, do they actually like me? We don't know. And so you kind of assume, you feed your mind the information that I need to continue the masking in order for things to be okay, because you don't test the theory. In addition, you probably have higher rates of anxiety because if you think about it, your mind is doing just so much more work than an average person's mind. Most people are running one personality. You're running two personalities. So you're always digesting information and trying to decide which personality do I engage in order to be safe in this situation. And so by analyzing so much information, you're typically experiencing higher states of anxiety because there's so much ambiguity in all of these interactions. And just having that mind going so fast typically leads to this sense of disease, like this sense that like things are not okay. And so if this is you, this is something that can be integrated. Like these two personalities can be integrated and you can feel a lot better. You can have more energy at the end of the day. You can have less anxiety and you can have that sensation that like people know me, and they accept me for who I am. The problem is that because you've been doing this for so long, typically you want to keep doing it because it feels really scary to start doing something else. And it feels really scary to expose yourself that way. And this is kind of a trick that the mind plays on itself, in that we've essentially taught ourselves to fear something by avoiding it. And so the kind of cure here is to overcome the avoidance in order to teach yourself that this is not something that really needs to be feared as much as you think it does. And if this is you, I know that it can be really difficult to overcome that challenge. And this is something that I help my clients do if they engage in this type of behavior. So if you're interested, I'd be happy to chat with you. Go to my link, schedule an intro session, and we can start developing a plan on how you can integrate your two personalities in order to feel better.